My name is Gina, and my story is about cadaver vultures.
My name is Adri, and I'm going to tell you about the Ottoman Empire's greatest contribution.
My name is Alan, and I'm going to tell you the origin of the slang term for bad movies.
Two of these stories are true, but one of them is bluffing. What do all of these things have to do with turkey? Find out next on this episode of History Bluffs. The Armchair Historical Society is proud to present History Bluffs, where truth is stranger than fiction. Now, welcome your host for this episode, it's Chris!
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Adam. It's good to be back, and welcome to our audience. Welcome to our Armchair Historians. And we are here for another week to find out if truth is indeed stranger than fiction. So, thank you. That's right. Before we jump to our topic and get cost, I just want to introduce our panelists. And I'm going to start at the top of the screen. And Gina, welcome to the stage, please, Gina.
Hi, Chris. How are you, man?
Hello. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Thank you. You look
all
pretty.
All right. Well. You look pretty as well. Thank you. I get that a lot lately. I don't know why. I think it's my long hair. But I am thankful for those kind of comments, and I'm thankful for this show and this cast and our friendship because tomorrow is Thanksgiving. I am just expressing that, and I would like to ask you, Gina, what is a Thanksgiving memory that you have that you can share with the audience?
Well, so as you probably know from other episodes, I come from a big Italian family. What you may or may not know is, so we were kind of poor when we were little, and very poor. And so my parents were trying to, get a job, going back to school, things like that. And so finally, when I was about 13, my parents got this job, but they had to work on Thanksgiving. And so we were like, we had never cooked, like none of us cooked, and so we decided though we wanted to help our mom so she didn't, kind of put it all together. So we made the whole freaking meal. It was awful, but what we did was we also printed, we did place settings and we printed menus, and it was one of those old dot matrix printers. So we found a fancy font and it went and we printed out. And I'm a family of 7, so it took like an hour to print them all out. But we made these cute little menus with fancy things and prices, like everything. Then my parents passed away, and I've been rummaging through some of the stuff recently. They saved it. They saved the menu.
Wow. Nice. Very nice.
Super sweet.
Our next armchair historian is Adri. Hello, Adri. How are you?
Hello, Chris. How do you do?
I'm doing well. Good to see you. Good to be back, and good to have you back in the show as well. Adri, what's a Thanksgiving memory for you?
For me, I really savor the memories of playing with my cousins. Specifically, we play tag football out on the little yard that we had, and just being physical, being outside, and just having fun, getting dirty. Nice. Having our moms yell at us. Good memories. Right. Yeah.
Fantastic. And our third armchair historian this week is Mr. Alan. Hello, Alan. How are you?
Hello. I'm quite well. Thank you, digital audience. Always appreciated.
Always appreciative.
Thanksgiving Day memories. Growing up, I had a pretty small family. I just lived in the same house as my mom, and there was no one else in there. My grandma lived about 12 miles away, and then my uncle was relatively close as well. So, there'd be a total of 4 people at a typical Thanksgiving. Now, growing older with my own family, my wife's family had a larger extended family. So my favorite memories are actually seeing my daughter being surrounded with cousins her own age and just playing for the whole weekend with kids her own age. And I remember a specific Thanksgiving where I was just so relaxed and at peace that other kids were occupying her, and then I hear a yell from the other room saying, "I broke my arm." And I was like, she's exaggerating. And then we had to take her to the doctor later that day.
Helen, I have brothers, and she doesn't. She's an only child, right? And so, you're supposed to not tell when you break your arm or cut yourself, because then playing stops. So she probably really was hurting.
She was in pain. She was definitely in pain.
Wow. Well, I also want to call out our tech extraordinaire, Adam. Please join us real quick. And Adam, what's a Thanksgiving memory for you, my friend?
Well, I was young. I was very sub 10, probably 6, 7, 8. I didn't eat green things. I hated green. I would pick I would spend 30 minutes picking parsley out of my spaghetti at dinner time. So anyway, one Thanksgiving, my mother said, "Eat your broccoli," and I said, "I don't want to eat my broccoli." And so she said, "You're not leaving the table to eat your broccoli." I said, "I don't want to eat broccoli. I'm going to throw up." Well, I ate the broccoli, and guess what happened? I threw up right on the table.
Ooh.
On the Thanksgiving table. Now, the reason this is it's a favorite thing for me is because I'm like, stick to your guns and follow through. Be thankful for following through and sticking to your guns, and you will define your persona and have a position of strength to come from.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, for me, I also come from a large family like Gina does. And my story actually is a little bit of large family. It's food centric, and there's even pain involved. And that is it's one of the funny things that happens when you have a large family. My brother John one year had gone away to college, and so we were all used to John not being around. And at the beginning of Thanksgiving dinner, John gets a call from his girlfriend, takes the phone, and this is, I'm going to age how old the story is, but and takes the cord, goes into a bedroom off the kitchen, shuts the door, and we proceed to begin eating, completely forgetting that John was home. We ate the entirety of Thanksgiving dinner. John comes out, and all the food is gone. He's like, "What?" He's like, "You got to be kidding me!" And it's like, "Well, you should have, it's not our fault. You're not here regularly." So so that's one of the things that stick out for me for Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Gotta fight for your food.
You have to fight for your food. Yeah. So that was a painful memory for John, but a fun memory for me. But
what I appreciate about Adam's story is that as a child, he was not bluffing.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
Indeed. It's sticking to your guns. And Adam, with that in mind, would you please share with our audience the rules of the show?
You got it, Chris. Here's the rules. It's not a big show. It's a short list of rules. Here they are.
That is correct. Our historians are inspired by the topic, and with Thanksgiving coming tomorrow, our topic today is the word turkey. So our historians inspire their inspiration for their story is the word turkey. True stories are factual, and two of our historians will be telling true stories. One of them will be bluffing. The bluff story is a fictional story, and we ask for no audience help if you are Googling things and you have an idea, or if you know factually about a something that someone is speaking about, and something doesn't ring true to you. Please hold that until our third round, and the final round we'll have the opportunity to declare who we think is bluffing for the show. But we would love to hear your comments throughout the show. But please hold any facts. If you Google anything, please don't do that. And if you do, just save that until the end of the third round so we can find out for sure with a clean slate who is bluffing. Because I don't even know who the bluff is. Only Adam, the tech, and the actual bluff themselves know who tonight's bluff is.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Adam?
That is correct, Chris.
All right. So, with all that being said, and with turkey being declared today's topic and the inspiration for our three historian stories, let us begin, shall we, Adam, with round number one. All right. Love that studio audience getting so excited for this. And we're just going to go in the order that people appear on the screen here. So, Gina, I'm going to start with you. And if you don't mind, your first round, the first round stories are going to be 75 seconds long for each of the three of you. And then they will progressively get shorter, 60 seconds in the second round and 45 seconds in the third round. So, Gina, your 75-second first round story will begin now.
All right. So, when I was doing research for this, I found this really great video, and what it was a cat, a dead cat, in the middle of a road, and about 10 turkeys circling the cat, just walking in like a perfect circle. They were almost evenly spaced out, like it just looked like it was, like when they fly, like in that V thing, and it's perfect. So this story is funny on two levels, because that was the first thing I found, which inspired what I found next, which was that there is such a thing as a turkey vulture. And the reason that it made me look that up was because I thought, well, they're going around in a circle, and I just wanted to see if they maybe were related to vultures, because vultures circle around dead things from the air. And it turns out they're not related. However, they do both circle when they see something dead. And the reason I want to tell you about turkey vultures is because it's very, very interesting. The first time that they used a vulture to try to find a cadaver, like a bloodhound might do it, like they have those cadaver dogs, they used turkeys instead in Germany in 2011. Prior to that, like the turkey vulture, just so you know, it kind of looks like a turkey, resembles it, and they have the best sniffer of all the birds, and even just as good, if not better, than a bloodhound. Plus, they can cover a lot more ground from the air. So, I will know more about that, but they are a much better choice than the bloodhound for a few different reasons.
Wow. I'm already intrigued by your story, Gina. And just as a side, I made a note to myself because as soon as you said a funny video and it was a dead cat circled by vultures, I made a note to myself to check in more frequently with your husband, John, just to make sure he's okay.
Every week you say that.
Adri, what'd you think of Gina's story?
I haven't heard from John in a while.
Where is that
here.
man?
So I was chuckling through the majority of that. A couple things stood out to me. The dead cat, of course, but circled by turkeys. I can't even imagine what that looks like. Then I think you mentioned that turkeys fly. I've never seen a turkey fly. I also think that might be a terrifying thing to see. Then the standout was turkeys having a better, an equal or better nose than a bloodhound. Wow.
Can I, Adri, it's a turkey
Please.
vulture. Come on.
Turkey vulture. I do apologize.
Thanks.
All
Okay.
right,
Does it
all
make more
right.
sense though now? Though?
Now I can see it. It makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
Crystal
For sure.
clear.
Crystal.
All right, Alan, what's your thoughts on Gina's first round story?
Yes, the turkey vulture. I'm actually familiar with the bird somewhat, but to think that it took. Yeah, I think they have them in Florida. Like you've seen them on the side of the road. We have them here.
Those aren't
Orlando.
vultures?
They're turkey vultures. Yes, the ones that pick apart raccoons as roadkill. Those are turkey vultures. I'm pretty sure. But that it would take this long for Germany to figure out if they sniff better than a bloodhound. To 2011, they would have had that figured out like 100 years ago. They're freaking Germany. So I don't know. That's the one flaw I see.
Wait till my second round.
Oh, okay.
That's of course the great rebuttal. They're freaking Germany. Come on.
That's true.
Chris, you know what they have
Adrian.
in Germany?
What's
They
that?
have advisors to the Kaisers.
They do have advisors to the Kaiser. They're well paid and rightly so. With that being said, Adrian, we're going to bring you up and have you tell us your first round 75-second story, and you may begin now.
All right. So my story is about the Empire of Ottomans, the greatest contribution the Ottoman Empire ever gave to us. Now, if the Ottoman Empire were to exist today, it would basically be the countries of, and I'm trying this out for the first time, so bear with me, Syria, Egypt, Greece, Bulgaria, Hungary, Lebanon, Serbia, Jordan, Israel, Macedonia, Romania, Armenia, Saudi Arabia, and yeah, you guessed it, Turkey. That's the list. And makes up the Ottoman Empire. Yes, that's legit. So, if you didn't understand me, it was Syria, Egypt, Greece, Bulgaria, Hungary, Lebanon, Serbia, Jordan, Israel, Macedonia, Romania, Armenia, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. That is what the Ottoman Empire is composed of. Now, you might ask, what was the Ottoman Empire's most famous contribution to the world besides the Kardashians and Dua Lipa? Well, if you guessed the cushy retreat for your lower extremities, you are correct, and I'm going to tell you all about it in the next segment.
Holy.
Wow. So Adri is telling us that her story is true. No ifs, ands, or buts. Gina, what did you think about Adri's opening salvo there? By the way, I will throw this out there. For the rhyme, she gets 50 points. For the song, she gets 50 points. And for the delivery, she gets 50 points.
Wow.
And then, but you should also know we have no points in the show. So, Gina, what do you think of?
I was going to offer to give her some points. It reminded me of that Animaniac song, and I loved it.
That was my inspiration.
If anybody knows it, I'll sing it with you right now. Okay.
I don't know.
Then, I thought Ottoman meant 8 men. So this is all brand new to me, and I'm loving it. Every single bit of this. Or that thing you put your feet on. And so you're saying the greatest contribution is that from them? I thought it was spelled differently. I'm so intrigued, excited, confused, and not sure yet. So this is fascinating.
It's okay.
Yes,
I feel that way pretty much all day, every day. So we're going to get through this together.
You don't understand. It's good that I'm feeling. Okay, good.
They somehow in the history books they got overshadowed by the Trojan horse, but that Ottoman storage was actually the first way they snuck soldiers in war. The storage Ottoman, they put guys in there and it popped up. So, Alan, what do you think of Adri's?
Wow.
Well deserved, Adam. Well deserved.
Wow.
I appreciate that.
Once per show, one trombone.
At least one.
Shall we
Alan,
aim
what
for
do
more?
So I know that it's challenging to have to write an entire bluff for the time allotted. So what she did was list off all the countries in the Ottoman Empire and then repeat them again. And then at the end, she had time left over. I'm thinking that she just didn't want to write that much this week. So, fair enough.
Okay.
I've got like 2 chapters right here. I'm ready to go.
Okay. Well, good job that the time's reduced in the next 2 rounds.
Maybe she's just a good public speaker and used to the concept of repeating yourself so the audience, it sinks into the audience. I'm not saying that that's
I'll remember
what happened,
that next time I'm bluffing.
It's all
There you
about
go.
absorbing and really repetition. Yes.
It's all about absorbing and really
repetition.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, all right. Well, we've heard from Gina in round 1. We've heard from Adri in round 1. Let's get Alan up here. And Alan, please deliver your 75-second first round story when you come up on screen here, and we'll give you the floor. And your time begins now.
Why are bad films called turkeys? Well, if you're like me, you may associate calling bad movies turkeys due to the popularization from the classic show Mystery Science Theater 3000 and their Turkey Day marathons from the 1990s. Having said that, you may also associate the term with simply comparing the movies to the bird we eat on Thanksgiving. Well, you would be wrong. While it is true the term turkey predates Mystery Science Theater, and they did associate the term with Thanksgiving Day, the term for calling movies turkeys is actually directly associated with the country and not the bird. The term turkey was coined during World War II when American troops stationed overseas were first exposed to European films. Turkish films already garnered much criticism from the people in England and France due to their low budgets, bad script writing, and terrible acting. U.S. troops caught on to the bad reputation and immediately just called any film reels from Turkey as turkeys.
And the emphatic point at the end. He's getting that in there. All right. Well, just for the record, I want to say, Alan used the technique of mocking Gina for using a 2011 discovery in her story, and then he proceeds to talk about Mystery Science Theater 3000. Now, I'm not sure. Adri, was Mystery Science Theater 3000 around in the Ottoman Empire? I'm not. What do you think of Alan's story?
Well, I don't know. I'm a really big movie buff. I just don't buy the whole turkey. I've never heard that before. That's just so far out there. I think it's a stretch. I'm not sold on it. That's all I got for you right now.
Okay. All right. And Gina, what say you about Alan?
So I would like to take sort of a step back on his story and like kind of go back to the very beginning part. The reason for that is because it was like, oh, they rated movies by saying like, using turkeys. And like, I'm thinking like, okay, so this one had, like 352 out of 400 feathers. I don't know how that would work. Like this one was but it's not that kind of turkey. So then I was out of the story. So because that was in my head. So I can tell you I'm in the same place. I'm confused, intrigued, on the edge of my seat, but I reserve the right to vote later.
Apparently too much turkey made Gina fall asleep during part of Alan's story, I guess.
And just said that was never mind.
All right. Well, then we've now heard from all three of our historians in the opening round. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to go to round number 2, and the round is shortened. Each of these stories are going to fall in the time frame of only 60 seconds for this round. And for purposes of starting round number 2, Alan, let's get that round number 2 started. Adam, shall we?
Let's do it. And we are now officially in round number 2.
Officially in round number 2. And we're going to have Adri come to the center square. And Adri, please pick up your story about the Ottoman Empire. You may begin now.
Okay, so according to Architectural Digest of India, the Ottoman really hasn't changed much since its original inception. In the 18th century, its original concept was padded upholstered seat or bench without arms or a back, and was heaped with pillows that served as primary seating in the homes in Turkey. In the 19th century, it got an upgrade where the seat was slightly modified to introduce storage inside of the furniture. Now, today, the Ottoman is more popular than ever and typically serves as additional seating, like usually stored against the walls and corners out of the way. And it's often or otherwise known as a footstool, a tuffet, a hassock, a tumty, or a humpty. Now, this is all true. The history of the seat does have paralleling stories behind it, which I'll get into in round 3.
Well done, Adri. 50 more points to you for more rhyming. I love it. Just keep the rhymes coming. Alan's going to be beside himself, I'm sure, because that's part of your bluffing technique. But of course, she did reference Architectural Digest of India, and for those in the industry, that is also known as India-gestion. Gina.
I'm borrowing from next week. That's next week.
2 trombones. Nice.
I'm going for the show record tonight.
I'm just a little confused. Sorry, Chris, keep going.
Gina, go, Gina.
No, I was just and here's why, Adri, because like in because this was going to be the story, a story that I was going to do tonight, the Ottoman Empire. And so in 1923, the Ottoman Empire was changed from the Ottoman Empire to Turkey. So why do we still call it Ottoman when we put our feet up? Why don't we call it Turkey?
It's just the general, like the way that it was absorbed by the Europeans. They just called it Ottoman. It had an E at the end, then they ended up dropping the E, and then it made its way over here to the United States, and it's...
What do they call it in Turkey?
Ottoman. Us? Yeah.
Oh, so it's officially Ottoman. So this has nothing to do with Turkey at all.
No, it's everything to do with Turkey. It comes from Turkey.
Oh, okay. I missed that part. I'm last round. This is very good, Adrian. So I'm intrigued, but I'm not. I think I got confused. I'm gonna rethink that. Alan, your turn, please.
Alan, what do you think, Alan?
I just want to clarify. Turkey was one of the territories of the Ottoman Empire, but it was like basically the capital, the hub of the empire.
What were the other ones? Just kidding.
I would love to tell you.
Grilling.
Alan would come through the screen. Alan would come through the screen if that happened. Alan, Alan, what do you think, Alan?
I remember watching an episode of The Tick back. I'm going to refer to the 1990s, this whole episode. I was watching an episode of The Tick, and there was like an evil group called the Ottoman Empire, and it was just these animated Ottomans just going through the town and like stealing stuff. And then my stepdad goes, and of course, Ottomans have absolutely nothing to do with the Ottoman Empire. So if that's the case, then clearly this is all of just a bluff.
Okay, well, he's clearly pitting his stepdad against you to determine who is truthier. Who is truthier, his stepdad or you? Good question here. All right, well, Alan, why don't you come back and you can have your 60-second shortened round number 2 story. So 60 seconds to you. Your clock begins now.
When the troops came back home, they started referring to any letdown of a film as a turkey, but many etymologists believe they never even bothered to explain to their friends and family. Many people simply assumed the term meant the movie was just as valuable as common, dry lunch meat. It is believed that even some troops didn't understand the origins of the term, likely assuming the Thanksgiving bird was the inspiration for the name. Etymologist Nijat Ozan confirmed that in the 1930s, there were slews of reviews lambasting even the best of Turkish films for what Turkish filmmakers regard as xenophobic reasons. French critics have always been exceptionally biased against outside films, and Turkish films making runs counter to the style that French embrace. However, the English were more welcoming than the French, and as far as foreign films, but still the English thought Turkish films had no true value.
Okay, Gina, what's your take here on Alan's story?
Well, when England speaks, I think the whole world listens. So I think that they have. But did they call it turkey over there too, Alan? In England?
It was the U.S. troops that started just calling them turkeys. But
Okay, and did
the English and the French weren't calling the bad films turkeys. They just knew that Turkish films weren't good.
Okay, this is so good because I have not heard of any of this stuff. So I'm loving this.
Well, do you have an opinion on what you're loving and learning?
No.
Okay. Hold that.
But her opinion is she loves it, so there's that.
Well, all right. At some point, Gina, just so you know, at the end of the next round, you're going to have to make a decision on who you think is bluffing. Just so you know. Adrian, what do you think?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Or me, or Adam, or you, whoever. Adrian, what do you think of Alan's story here?
I'm still not sold. I do have a question for clarity. Were these Turkish films, did they have subtitles on there, or were they dubbed in English or French or whatever language these soldiers were listening to it in?
I think they were learning the language if they were actually watching them.
Okay.
This is a game about facts, not thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, the one thing for me that jumped out was his use of the word etymologist, and we of course have our own etymologist, Adam, our tech. So, Adam, would you please bring up Gina for her second round? Gina, when you're ready, we're going to bring you. There you go. Gina, you are going to have 60 seconds to tell us round 2 of your story, Sherlock Holmes.
For those of you who don't know, vultures will eat off of dead carcasses. And so for those of you who don't know, mercaptan is the chemical that is emitted that gives you that funny decaying smell. And so back in 1938, the first people who used vultures for some type of business purpose, it was the Union Gas Company. And what they did was they would put that chemical inside of their gas lines so that if there was a leak, they would notice vultures flying around the gas lines and they would be like, oh, there's a leak. And they'd go out and fix it. So that was how they were used before. before in Germany. Now, like, you have to understand, this was in 1938, and this was like World War I time or II time. So, like, of course, Germany didn't get the information yet. Nobody liked them yet. So, like, they finally got the information in 2011, and they started training this one bird. His name was Sherlock, and he lived at a little zoo. And they trained him by putting a sheet over a cadaver with some dead meat particles inside of a bowl, and the little turkey vulture would eat it, and then they would give him a treat, and they'd be like, "Oh, look, you're trained to find cadavers now." And then they added 3 more birds, 2 more birds.
Okay, all right. Just for the record, I'm gonna, because this show is being recorded for posterity, we have proof. She also said that funny decaying smell. I am texting John Hunter right now to make sure he's okay, because I have not seen him in months.
He won't answer.
Just saying. All right. Adri, what do you think of Gina's story with the tiny little cute little vulture decaying, picking away at the body?
You know, I'm just picturing such an advanced country and nation and overall people training a vulture with little, food particles to fly over a gas leak. It's a real modern marvel. It's a real modern marvel.
A modern marvel indeed. Alan, what do you give any credence to Gina's story?
I mean, there's truth in it, because
Thank you.
there is this chemical in gas tanks. When they get low, they emit that funky, nasty, rotten smell. Because normally,
or funny
smell. I don't know if you've got laughing gas in your gas tank, there's a problem. But you don't need to train vultures to know what dead meat smells like. They already know. Why are you? That's what dead meat smells like. Now you know.
That's solid.
Well, yeah, they cross-trained him with canaries just for that purpose, I guess. So
that's different.
All right.
It's very, very different. Shut your mouth.
Okay, duly noted. So we have now heard round 1 and round 2 from all 3 of our armchair historians. I know the audience is furtively taking notes and determining who they think might be a little more skeptical than others on their stories, and who they maybe think is a little more truthy. And I know I'm making notes, and our historians are making notes about the other ones. So let us move on now to round number 3. Thank you, Adam. And round number 3, of course, is our final round, which means 2 things. One, that the time has once again been constricted. We are down now to 45 seconds per round, per story for this round. And that this is the final round. Therefore, at the end of this round, we will be determining, each of us, who we think the bluff might be. So, Gina, did you catch that? You're going to have to make a choice at the end of this round, even though you're learning stuff.
I took notes. I'm taking notes.
Good. So, to start us off for our last and shortest round, let's bring Alan to the stage to pick up on the Turkey Films story.
So the moniker in America stuck for decades, but in Turkey itself, they were actually going through a bit of a renaissance in their film industry. Yeşilçam, which translates to green pine, is a metonym for the Turkish film industry, similar to Hollywood in the United States. And Yeşilçam is named after Yeşilçam Street in Beyoğlu, the Beyoğlu district of Istanbul, where there are many actors and directors and crew members, and studios are based. Yeşilçam experienced its heyday from the 1950s to the 1970s, when it produced 250 to 350 films annually. And during that time, Omar Lutfi Akad strongly influenced that entire period. So there.
Oh, yes. The ever powerful so there argument. As anyone who's has a sibling or a cousin knows that at Thanksgiving dinner, that is one of the ending fire shots right across the bow. So there. Okay. So, Gina, what you think?
So there is a sick burn that you can't come back from. It's just how it goes.
It is a tough one.
Yeah.
What do you think of Alan's story?
So Alan's story, I do think he's the bluff right now, and I'll tell you why. Because he didn't give us any examples of why the stories were bad. He didn't give us any examples of names of the stories. He just told us that there was a place called Yesselpine, and it was like whatever over there, and it's like whatever it was called, green pine tree, whatever. I don't care, but my point is that I feel like at this point we would have heard of Hollywood West or East or wherever it is in Istanbul. And it's just, I think it's a bluff, but I do reserve the right to hear Adri, as do all of us.
Yes, we all do.
All right. Adri, what, which by the way, with Adri coming up on screen here, Alan did miss the opportunity for a song when he said "Moniker in America." Moniker in America. Da, da. So, Adri, with that, what's your take on? Thank you, Alan. What is your take on Alan's story here?
Yeah, I'm standing firm. I don't think enough evidence has been given regarding Turkish Hollywood. You know, just I agree with Gina, naming off a few names. It's just not enough to sell me on truth, you know. If there were an example of a movie, I would buy it, but I haven't got an example, so I'm not buying it.
Well, he did use a lot of one-syllable sounds that were put together to sound like names, so there's that.
Mm-hmm. There is that.
But
All right.
Did he sing? No.
He didn't. I did not. He didn't rap. He
did not sing. So no points for delivery on that one.
No
okay.
Fair enough.
Well, fair enough indeed. All right, Gina, let's have you come up into the center square here, and let's give us your conclusive third round in 45 seconds. You may begin now.
So they brought in two chicks to train them. One was called Columbo. The other was called Mrs. Marple. And then the theory was that they would sniff out cadavers, they could cover more ground. But what was happening was they were diving, and they would go and they would dive. It wasn't just humans they were finding. They would go down if they saw a big boar or a bear, anything dead. So that was one thing that wasn't working. The second thing was once they got down there, they would hold off on eating the animal for a little while. But if it took too long, they had a GPS wrapped around one of their legs. And if it took too long for the police to make their way to the cadaver, then the turkey vultures would just start eating it. And once they started, the police couldn't get them off because they have these really, really sharp tongs. And so the last part is the reason they stopped using them and no longer do is because it's really hard to train them. And Sherlock just lost interest. He just stopped doing it after a while, and the two new birds weren't ready. So they gave it up. Nobody does it anymore. And he never found a cadaver, only did it in a zoo.
Oh, man. He just lost Sherlock just lost interest. Alan, what do you think of Gina's conclusion to the story there?
I find it interesting, or maybe just hard to believe, that they named one of them after an American TV series from the early 80s. Really? The Germans?
I didn't make this up. I'm just reading what I'm telling you.
They do love Hasselhoff over there. Just
they
saying.
love Hasselhoff, but this is not Hasselhoff. Columbo was played by Peter Falk.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
All right.
It says Marple was I loved that they named one of them Mrs. Marple because I love all those books and movies.
All right, and Adri, what's your take on Gina's story?
I don't know. You know, I've had a lot of really different thoughts about the Germans over the years, basically because of everything they've done. But if this story is true, I think they may have won my heart over by naming their turkeys with such heartfelt, loving, American-centric names.
Yes, like Sherlock.
Like Sherlock.
Like Sherlock.
I decided that Sherlock's last name should be Holmes. Sherlock Holmes. Get it?
Sherlock Holmes.
Never mind.
All right. Well, we have heard Alan's conclusion. We have heard Gina's conclusion. So that brings us to Adri to come out and tell us her conclusion on the Ottoman Empire.
I will sing all of this.
Oh,
okay. Just kidding. Okay, so just a little background history of how the Ottoman ended up leaving the Ottoman Empire. So Egypt was invaded by the French army at some point, and while they were there, they noticed that the Egyptians who weren't being treated very well at the time would come home and put their feet up on these little stools. The French were like, ooh, I must have this for my apartment back in Paris. So they took it with them. And then over time, they ended up updating it to be their own thing that they called a bluff, and which was basically a fabric ottoman with no storage. Now, fun fact, Osman I, who was the Ottoman Empire, the first guy, he died. Oh, can I finish?
Yes, finish.
Okay, he died of gout, which today is totally treatable. But back then, if he would have just elevated his feet on an ottoman,
What?
would have helped treat his situation.
I'm so glad you finished.
Irony, whole ironies. For the record, 50 more points for the French accent for Adri. She's racking up the points here tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, and how did they get them back? They put them all onto a boat and they shipped them. Boom! There's your third trombone.
There you go.
There it is. All right.
I'm out for the year.
My word.
I'm out for the year.
Alan, what do you think of Adrian's story?
Yeah, I'm glad we got to take use of that time that she didn't use at the beginning in the first round. So she had time to wrap it up at the end. That's great.
Am I back in your good graces?
No, it's too great. It's so great it must be made up.
All right, so you're calling Adrian's bluff.
Let's see. The other one was the Colombo turkey vulture. Oh boy. So is the time? Are we making our votes right now?
But wait, hold on. I want to get Gina's comments
All right,
on
go ahead.
real quick.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that if I were Sherlock Holmes, I would notice that Adri's story is dead on the carcass.
Oh, geez.
Now, yeah, it didn't scan in my head either, but you gotta try.
Okay. Well, now we are to the point where we're going to find out who is indeed this week's bluff. So for those listening and commenting, please let us know in your comments who you think the bluff is. And but let's find out from our panelists, armchair historians, who they think tonight's bluff is. So I will start in the order that we went in the show. Gina, who do you think the bluff is?
I think it's Alan, and the only reason I say that is because a lot of the facts that Adri was spewing, they lined up when I was researching Ottoman. I don't know if it's true or not, because that part of the story I didn't get to, about that thing you put your feet up on. However, some of the other names and things, although she can do that, can't she, to make her story better? Oh, crap. Now I'm going to say Alan still, but now I don't know.
All right. Gina totally talked herself around the circle and then back out of it. Adri, who's your vote for the bluff?
Well, as ridiculous as Gina's story truly is, I'm going to go with Alan. Just because there's no facts to back it up.
Hey,
yeah, mine has facts.
Factless information can go far in this country, as we've all learned in recent times. And Alan, what do you think of who's bluffing?
Okay, I'm going against my instinct. I think Gina's actually the most plausible, so I'm going to say that she's the bluff.
What?
Gina is the bluff?
Shocker.
So
she's done too good a job of sounding factual.
That is an insult most foul. I don't
Oh, jeez.
Like
all right. So, well, we have our votes. We have 2 votes for Alan, 1 for Gina. We will find out in comments who some of our audience members think is bluffing. But the one person besides the bluff themselves that knows is Adam, our tech extraordinaire. And Adam, would you please determine and let us know who the bluff for this week actually is?
You know it. All right, I do have the secret truth. And now I will reveal, was it Gina bluffing? Or was it Adri telling the web of deceit? Or was Alan just absolutely full of it head to toe? I will, ladies and gentlemen, your bluff for this evening. The show has been Alan!
Stuff with lies. Lies with the stuff. Bluffs the stuff. The stuffing. The stuffing is bluffing.
It is so true, so true. Oh boy,
that's a good T-shirt for tomorrow. The stuff is bluff.
Yeah.
Everybody should wear that at the
The
table.
stuffing is bluffing. The stuffing is bluffing.
I wonder if anybody at home feels as dumb as I do right now. Because in my head, the whole time Alan was talking, I was like, maybe I'm just not cool. And calling a movie a turkey is a cool thing. And I'm just not cool. You're bluffing us. That's why. Made us feel dumb.
People do call bad movies turkeys, but
Oh, they do?
yes.
Oh, then I feel cooler. Thank you.
Well, that's not the bluff. The bluff is that it came from the country Turkey.
Oh, you're so good. Although I still guess too.
I've never heard the turkey movie thing ever.
Never.
Yeah.
Never. Mystery Science Theater pointed it out hundreds of times.
Jeez,
Yeah.
I just I
Wow.
thought that was a
All
them
right, all
thing.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we have. I'm sorry, Adam. Go ahead.
Oh no, that was just because I'm learning things. Like I hope all of you are, and everyone
Yes,
out
indeed.
there.
Yes, indeed. We hope everyone is learning things, and we want to thank you once again for another listening into another episode of History Bluffs. We are, of course, always thankful for our audience, but especially this week with Thanksgiving Be Tomorrow. And we're thankful for our armchair historians. Please give it up for Gina, Adri, and Alan. Thank you all so much for being on the show once again. And thank you to Adam, our tech extraordinaire. My name is Chris. We will see you next time on another episode of History Bluffs.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, my brothers.
We'll see you next time. Don't ever forget to tune in.